We are under attack, in case you hadn't noticed. The freedom-loving people of the world, they are being attacked, harassed and corralled into a system of eternal slavery, digital slavery, it seems. And we need a solution. Most people are not aware of the technology that's capable to solve this problem. So as a result, they are passively accepting their future fate as they slowly descend into eternal slavery. They are living currently in an open cage, and that cage door can shut at any moment. The open cage is basically the Web 2 world of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, the banking system, the legal system, what ingredients are in your food, etc., etc. You know, the status quo. And it's slowly but surely becoming more restrictive and more difficult to live and express yourself freely within that system. And as you express yourself freely, you're more likely to get yourself into trouble. And we're seeing this more and more and more today with the way the current media climate is, with the propaganda that's being fed to people, the rights that are being taken away from people, the rights that are being trampled on. And so everyone is kind of passively accepting that we're moving into this slavery system where people lose their right to speak, their right to express, everything, it seems. So what are you going to do about it? At the moment, people are constantly trying to get more information into their head. They feel like the answer is to gather information, keep reading and researching and learning more about conspiracies, conspiracy theories that always seem to come true these days. Things that we thought about in the vaccine and the virus period that we just went through, where we all thought it was this way, the media told us it was the complete opposite, and now it's coming out that actually most of the people that were the bad guys were right. Again, no consequences for anyone at the top. We're just going to keep researching and finding out more information, aren't we? That's our answer. That's our answer, just keep researching everything. Well, at a certain point, you've got to realize that the shit's hitting the fan, and it's obvious, right? We are under attack. And the question is, what are you going to do about it, aside from just research, read, and inform yourself? The time for informing yourself is basically over. That was over as soon as COVID started. We're now in a time where we have to take action. And the question is, what actions are you going to take? There's people I know who are trying to completely leave the system and remove themselves. The problem is, if you remove yourself from the current system, society's not really set up for it. It's got nothing to fall back on. So when you remove yourself from the current system, and I imagine many people are hoping for some kind of collapse of the current system, well, what are you going to do then? It's going to be no man's land. It's going to be Mad Max. That's also not a very nice world to live in my opinion. And the question is, can we find a way to create a slow, steady, voluntary, peaceful transition across to a new system? Or at least a viable parallel system that checks this current system and says to it, if you continue to be oppressive, if you continue to take away people's freedoms and trample on the rights that people so hard fought for and won over centuries with liters and gallons of blood spilled for those freedoms of our forefathers, what are you going to do? You know, at the moment, yeah, okay, with the system you have, you can keep trampling. But if there's a parallel economy, a parallel system where people can vote, people can move their money, people can transact, they can earn outside of the current economy, they can earn themselves credibility, governance rights, approval from the community that they serve and they work for. Well, now you've got a parallel system. And that parallel system can provide guaranteed digital freedom to all people at the base layer, immutable, impossible to shut down. Once you have that, you can check the current system. You can say to it, if you continue to be more oppressive, we will leave. We will just leave. And we have a viable parallel system that will serve us perfectly well and allow us to transact, allow us to build community, allow us to create economies, allow us to vote, discuss, argue. That's what's happening in the world right now. Most people don't understand this. Most people have no idea because they're propagandized by the media, and the media is telling them, you're slowly but surely moving into the system that we want you in. Well, understand it from me and many thousands of others around the world. The revolution is not being televised, and we are slowly but surely building an alternative parallel economy and parallel system within which we can live peacefully, happily, freedom, and be left alone to live our lives out. That's what's really happening in the world right now. And the current hegemony is losing control, and they see these systems being built and they're worried. I say to them, don't be too worried. You can also make your way in the new parallel economy that provides guaranteed freedom to all people, no matter who they are, what their political opinions are, and where they're from. You can also earn back your legitimacy as endowed by the community that you should serve. So, I'm a person who knows this knowledge. I'm a person who works on these projects, and I understand that we are moving into a world where there will be viable alternatives. It's a world of optimism. It's a world of, hopefully, of peace. It's a world where we can certainly have a good shot at that. It's a world of abundance where we can create our own economies and we can distribute value. When I say we, I don't mean we like my team and people. I mean the wider community can distribute value to itself based on those valuable members of the community that provide value to the community. The community itself can then identify who those people are in pseudonymous identities, by the way, and distribute value to them and let them be the powerful members of society as they earn their way through society, as society ordains them with the ability to vote, to direct, to influence the communities in which they serve. That's a better future. It's transparent, it's open, it treats everyone equally on the base layer. We all have the same digital rights to speak, to build economy, to build communities, to vote, to earn our stake in the ecosystem. That's the way. This information is being suppressed because why would the current system want the masses to know about it? But it's happening. It's happening slowly but surely. And you will have the chance to peacefully, voluntarily move away and start spending more of your life in a new parallel system that treats you better than the current one, that has no owners, has no pre-seed venture capital companies that are being regulated by the government from on high. None of that stuff. It's ownerless, no CEO, no characters claiming right to the fact that they built it and they own it or they have influence over it. Just people from the community who volunteered their time and worked hard to build the various tools so that you can make the most of them in the future in a free and fair, permissionless way. That's where we're going. How do you do that? There's been many attempts at this type of system in the past, but the thing that's important is to remember they always get subverted because there's always some kind of centralizing force behind this. There's always some ego claiming credit, taking credit for having built it or giving themselves some stake in the system that they probably didn't really earn, but justifying it by saying, I need to fund myself, I need to fund my development teams, I need to fund my teams on the ground. How do I do that if I don't have funding? So I'm going to give myself a controlling supply of the value system so that I can control the system, make sure we don't lose control of it, and also so that I can get some money for myself to fund my teams. The second you see behavior like that, it's already centralized and therefore it's corruptible and controllable. And human society, it's human nature to do that. When you create a value system and there's millions of dollars starting to flow through it, it's in human nature to take some of that for yourself and then distribute it to your teams, right? But at the same time, as soon as you take it for yourself, you're regulatable by the government because now you're a security, an unregistered security in most cases. Any of these systems that do well, that are not already corrupted and controlled by the government or government entities, they will be prosecuted by the SEC. And the SEC will do their darndest to figure out how they're centralized and poke at that centralized weakness. And that's what's happening in almost all cryptos today. They're either subverted, they've cut a deal with the government, or they haven't done that, they've resisted, but they already gave themselves as centralizing pre-mine and ICO, and those systems are now compromised and they will be taken to court because they broke securities law. This is a problem, we keep doing this over and over again. So what we really need is to build systems that the government cannot subvert, right? That's what we really need. How do we do that? We have to build systems that don't have a CEO. We have to build systems that don't have a founder. Why are there so many founders everywhere? Bitcoin didn't have a founder, Why do you need to have a founder? We need to build communities and economies and blockchains that have no pre-mines, no ICO, so that venture capital can't get involved early and misalign its interests with the community members that get involved later by using them as exit liquidity, which is what's happening today. Unsuspecting people buying into tokens with venture capital firms saying, this token's really great, when in reality they're selling that token to you and using you as exit liquidity. These are not fair, decentralized systems. They're not ownerless, and they don't provide you with equal, neutral rights for everyone. So what do you need? You need a text-based, light, predictable layer with no fees on the base layer. So you can transact with zero fees and you can send as much money as you like, fast and feeless. You do this by staking some of your tokens that you've earned into the protocol to say, hey, I'm a valuable member of this community. I therefore deserve access to resources. Most blockchains, they use fees. The problem with fees on the base layer is that you have to have trust in the layer 2s, and the layer 2s are the scaling layers. So the base layer does so much, it's your foundation, it's your security, and you use layer 2 to do the fast stuff, the processing, the kind of high intensity calculations that make these economies work properly. The problem with that though is that as you stake value into the layer 2s won't clear to layer 1 because they have to pay fees all the time. So then the layer 2s will say, don't worry, trust us with your data. Trust us for a few weeks, a few days. Trust us, we'll hold your data, and then when the fees are right, we'll clear to the base layer. Well, that's essential, that's not trustless. That's not a trustless system. In order to have digital rights, it should be a trustless system, fully trustless. No middlemen involved. So layer 2s are creating themselves as middlemen because of the feed nature of the layer 1 blockchains. You need to have no fees on the base layer. What does that do? It means that the layer 2s can clear instantly. They can clear instantly, which means you don't need to trust them anymore, so that the whole system can remain trustless. You do that with a text-based base layer. It just stores text. It doesn't do any clever computation, none of this smart contract stuff on layer 1, just text-based. You can vote on there, you have a transaction layer, and you need a stable coin. And these are the 3 pillars. The 3 pillars that we see are the most important way to build a freedom society, or a network state, as Balaji's would put it, on the blockchain. You've got to have a transaction layer, text-based storage, and a native layer 1 stable coin that cannot be KYC'd and cannot be custodialized, or a non-custodial stable coin. Those are the solutions. If you have those 3 things on your base layer, you have a lightweight, simple layer 1 blockchain that anyone can run, that you can keep the fees super low, if not free. And this is already happening in practice, so I'm not making this stuff up. There are blockchains where you can operate for free on. You put your computation layer on layer 2, not on the base layer. Everyone's trying to stuff all this stuff onto layer 1. The layer 1 should just be security, transactions, stablecoin, text storage. Everything else can go on a separate layer, layer 2. Let's do it over there. That way you don't clog up the base layer. It means you can have lightweight nodes. Many thousands of people can run the nodes very easily. The system's fluid, it's fast, it's uncomplicated. You don't need to fork very often. And I just want to say, that's where I think we're going. And with that knowledge, I mean, obviously you can't be an expert just from this video, but as you get into that world and you start to read and understand this knowledge, you realize that we are not going into this totalitarian world. We're going into a world where the communities will run their own infrastructure, not Google. Google won't run your infrastructure. Twitter won't run your infrastructure. Facebook won't run your infrastructure. Your followers, your friends, your families, your community members will run the infrastructure upon which you operate online. And with that move, you start to get equal rights for all online. And then you pair that infrastructure operation with the stuff I've just described about how an economy and voting system can work, and how layer 1, layer 2 blockchain system tech stack should be organized. And you really have an optimistic future of freedom, where you don't have to comply to all of these rules, regulations, and restrictions that are slowly but surely being placed on you right now. So, I mean, the message I'm trying to send is strong, but at the same time, it's optimistic. We have a good chance here. It's just a case of spreading this knowledge and helping people understand that there is optimism in the new technology that's coming. Don't worry, it's going to be okay as far as I'm concerned. I think we're going to win this. I think slowly but surely we're going to create freedom-based technologies, freedom tools across the world for everyone. And the state will have to readjust itself, get smaller. It will have to reevaluate its totalitarian dreams and give us a bit more freedoms in the old system, to stop us all leaving and moving to the new system. And then that hopefully will allow us to create a check and counterbalance, so that if the current system becomes too oppressive and too totalitarian, we just leave and move to the new technology and say, see you later. And then they say, oh, no, please come back. We won't do that. We'll be good to you, So peace out. Let's have a peaceful transition. Let's make it slow and gradual, so that it's not a sudden collapse, and we can get through this nice and comfortably and peacefully and happily. And we can maybe even have a generation that leaves a legacy for future generations. Peace out.